I'm Patrick Watson, I'm an astrologer, and you're watching How to Tell the Difference Between the Charts of Twins. So you may have come up against this problem before. You've cast the chart of two twins, and the charts are exactly the same. The ascendants are in the same sign, the midheaven is in the same sign, the moon is in the same sign, the sun is in the same sign, everything is in the same sign. Very, very close to the same degree and minute. And, this becomes kind of awkward, right? Because how do you explain all the differences between twins when their charts are basically the same? This has been a very common skeptical argument against astrology for a long time. Well, I think one way we can investigate the similarities between the charts of twins is to look at their lots. Lots, you may also know them as Arabic parts, are basically specific degrees which emphasize certain topics. And you can use these lots to use the procedure of Zodiacal Releasing in order to see how a given topic evolves and develops and increases in importance and decreases in importance at different points of someone's life. So there are many, many lots, and it stands to basic probability and statistically, a greater likelihood of someone having, someone who has a twin to have many positions to be very, very similar, but to potentially have some lots which are in different signs. So in order to investigate this particular possibility between the charts of twins, I have created this Hellenistic astrology lot calculator. Basically, it's a spreadsheet calculator where you put in all of the positions of a given chart and another one, and it automatically populates every single possible combination of lot along with its Hellenistic name, the Hellenistic names of the lots, as well as the source that it comes from, and it gives you the precise position. And the greatest thing about this is I've done it so that when you put in the chart data for two charts which are very similar, it will highlight certain lots which are in different signs. So here in this particular example, I have used the charts of Julian and Joaquin Castro. They're both politicians right now. Julian Castro is actually one of the Democratic candidates for president, and his brother Joaquin is a member of Congress. So the idea that like twins are completely different is kind of funny because in a lot of ways they do share lives, and there are strange and uncanny similarities between twins. And so, Julian and Joaquin Castro both going into politics on a fairly prominent level, makes a lot of sense intuitively. But they are different people and they have had different lives. As you can see here, this is Julian and this is Joaquin. So literally nothing seems to be the same. I mean, nothing seems to be different, right? I mean, if you put them together, they look exactly the same. So if we look at their charts in the realm of the lots, though, then we can tell what topics might potentially be different between them. So I've taken the liberty of putting in their information all before I started filming, because otherwise it would have taken a while to go through each one and put it in. But you just, you drop down, you punch in the degrees, minute, and second for each of these positions: ascendant, sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, etc. And the lots that it's highlighted between them is the Mars-Venus lot and the Saturn-Venus lot. So these lots include the lot of adultery, since they're a nocturnal chart, the lot of lands and landed property. There's multiple lots of these, so this is the second one. The lot of purchases and the lot of sale. So I'm not sure exactly how you get all of those significations from a Mars-Venus lot, but hey, basically this lot is going from the position of Mars to the position of Venus and then projecting that from the ascendant. So for Julian it comes out to Gemini, but for Joaquin it comes out to Cancer. So that's one potential difference. And then for Julian, he also has the Venus-Saturn lot in Taurus, whereas his brother Joaquin has it in Gemini. So the Venus-Saturn lot is basically going from the position of Venus to Saturn and then projecting that from the ascendant. And so that's why it's so close to a sound boundary, because the degrees between Venus to Saturn is very close to the the sign boundary between Gemini and Taurus projected from the ascendant. So, if we look at what that lot symbolizes, it is considered to be a lot of farming, a lot of inheritance, another lot of lands and landed property, as well as a lot of marriage, and another lot of marriage, which doesn't necessarily apply here because they're men. It's a marriage lot which is specifically for women. So what I think is interesting between these two lots, we can see that they involve some of the themes of marriage or relationships. They're both Venus lots. They both have some relevance for that. So what I think is really interesting is that when you compare the lives of Julian and Joaquin, one really obvious difference is the timeline of their romantic relationships. And one way we can see this is by looking at their lot of marriage, the Venus-Saturn lot. So for Julian, he's going to start his releasing from the lot of marriage in Taurus, whereas brother Joaquin is going to start it in Gemini. And so when we take a look at this, we can see that, let's get him, all right, so Julian's releasing from Taurus, Joaquin is releasing from Gemini. Let's get all right, good. So we can see that automatically, when it comes to this topic of the Venus-Saturn lot, their lives are going to be unfolding at completely different paces, right? Julian's begins with Taurus, an 8-year Taurus period, whereas Joaquin's is going to begin with a 20-year Gemini period. So automatically we know that they're going to be 8 years off from each other when it comes to the unfolding of this particular lot. And the ruler is going to be different. So it's going to emphasize a different experience or a different kind of person that they each marry. With Julian, it's really interesting because the ruler of his Taurus lot of marriage is Venus in Virgo, and the ruler of Cancer is the moon, which he also has in Virgo. You can see here he has Venus in Virgo and he has the moon in Virgo, which means that when he comes into Virgo periods, we can expect that that would be pretty important, especially the Cancer-Virgo period right here, because he's encountering both the ruler of the lot itself, Venus in Virgo, ruling Taurus, and the ruler of the major period, Moon in Virgo, ruling Cancer. And so what's really interesting is we can see that if we compare their lives a bit here, Julian actually did get married on June 30th, 2007, which happens to fall in the Cancer-Virgo period. So right at the time that we would expect there to be a significant event for the topic of this lot, the encountering of the lot and the encountering of the major period, that is when Julian Castro gets married. Now for Joaquin Castro, it's really different, right? Because he starts off with this Gemini period and it's ruled by Mercury. Now he doesn't have the chance for a double confluence of reaching the ruler of the lot and the ruler of the major period at the same time. So we're probably going to be relying on more general angularity for Joaquin's case. And so while both of them reach their angular periods when they get to Cancer, because they have fortune in Cancer, we can see that it was actually at the loosing of the bond that Joaquin Castro got married. He got married on November 12th, 2013. What's particularly interesting about this is the fact that loosing the bond periods are supposed to be periods which can kind of come out of the blue or be unexpected somehow. And so what's interesting is that, not that this is a very atypical situation necessarily, but he had been with this woman for several years, and then they got pregnant that summer, and then they got married before the child was born. I think it just kind of sped things up a bit, They were probably taking the time, and then, it finally just became serious because of a pregnancy, and so they got married. So this happened at the loosing of the bond of this Cancer major period. So it was an angular period, not just angular to fortune, but we might also note that it was in the fortune 7th house, which naturally rules the topic of marriage anyway. So quite, I think, a really cool example of how this can work out for people. So I think this shows how useful it can be to look at the lots when considering the differences between the charts of twins. And never before has there been a tool which has allowed us to kind of see all of the lots all at once at a glance, as well as to be able to compare instantly the lots which are different between the charts of twins. So if you know twins, or you're interested in investigating the differences between twin charts, you're definitely going to want to get a hold of this calculator. I'm selling it for $25. I worked quite a bit on it, and I'm not even really like a computer math guy. It is correct, but it took a long time for me to do, and I think this is valuable, and I didn't see anyone else making this, so I am selling it for $25, and I will put the link in the comments, please, or I'll put the link in the description. Please come if you have any questions, put in the comments, and if you want to continue to see more astrology content like this, definitely support me on my Patreon. That helps me going. I appreciate every dollar I get. So thank you guys. I hope this helps you in your investigation of the charts of twins. Look at their lots and buy my calculator. Thank you. Bye.